So you do you normally take a long time to write songs, or like in many phases?
Well, with me, there's usually two kinds of songs I'm finding. There's one that pops out pretty fully formed,
Yeah.
often when I've been inspired by something, like if I go to a concert or something, or, have some moving experience. And then there's the songs that take me forever to write. Like I start them and I get like two verses down and some chords that I like, and they just don't. It just doesn't come together.
Yeah.
And so it's hanging around and hanging around. And some of those eventually get completed, and some of them never do.
Right.
So, yeah. And I used to be, chords first, music first, lyrics later. But
Right.
for some reason, as I've gotten older, it's been more either both together or lyrics first.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah. They feel different, don't they? I mean, it's a different creative experience. And I haven't written a lot of songs, but I'm finding that, at least so far, the ones where I write lyrics first, they end up being a little bit more musically cohesive at the end.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I think earlier I was interested in the feel of the song or the idiom of the song as a piece of music. Words and music together was the thing for me. How does this strike you viscerally? And as I gotten a little older, for whatever reason, I'm more interested in the storytelling.
Yeah.
I kind of at some point woke up and was like, oh, everybody that does what I do, they're telling stories. And I guess I was doing that anyway, but I wasn't always focused primarily on telling a story. And that's become a lot more important. So maybe that's why the lyrics come first now.
Yeah.
It's Acoustic Conversations.
We jumped right in.
We jumped right in, and I was still standing up. I feel like we should at least tell people what the show is before.
Back the tape.
This is Kurt trying to hijack me out of the show. Quick, he's in the bathroom. Let's record. No, I kid because I love. But it is Acoustic Conversations. I am Pete Wright, Kurt Siffert, in the Chateau do Acoustic Conversations.
Great to be back.
Yeah, it's good to see you. And our guest is Justin Jude. Welcome, Justin.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Really, really glad to see you. You're talking about how you write your music. Lyrics first. I'm interested in this concept of you as a musical storyteller. What kind of stories did you find you were telling before you came to this epiphany?
I think a lot of my earlier songs were all about relationships, mostly that went wrong. If something bothered me, if something haunted me, music was a great way to capture it, and sometimes snuff it out in a way. It's I hate to put it this way because it's a cliche, but it can be therapeutic. You can capture some painful stuff and sing it out, and it changes. At least it's been my experience. And then I think later on I started being more conscious of it. What story do I want to tell? Is there stuff from my life that I really do want to sing out? And are there stories about characters that I'd like to tell? That's been a kind of a recent idea. I've never really been a character writer. Like listening to recent Springsteen, for example, a lot of, maybe it's always been this way for him, but I think the recent stuff, it's all these characters, the boxer and God, I can't remember what else. And that's a little more appealing than it used to be.
It's a throwback. I mean, recent Springsteen, or even early Springsteen, I'm suddenly thinking about Simon and Garfunkel. I mean, it's this idea that not everything has to be about you, man.
Yeah. Wake up from the 80s and 90s,
That's got to be kind of liberating on some level.
It is. It really is. I mean, I think that it's writing about your own experience is a treasure trove, but you can overdo it and get really lost in there. And when every song begins with the word I, maybe it's time to mix it up. Give people something a little different, tell a different story. So,
why don't you start us off with a song, if you would?
Sure. This is kind of a recent song. I don't know. We have one recording of this, I think. It's called Bad News. And we'll talk about it afterwards. I tried taking my space from you. I tried walking away. I tried making a place for you so warm you'd have to stay. But the signal is clear, and I know what I'm gonna hear. And that's bad news. You were so bad it had to be true. Bad news. You I tried putting up a fight. I tried shouting you down. I tried listening until it's light and following you all over town. But it's never enough, 'cause you only fill me up with bad news. You were so bad it had to be true. Bad news. You down the wire coming through. Bad news. You I tried everything I know how, every trick in my book. No matter how much I dance and sing, you're never taking the hook. And I can't break your spell, 'cause you know what always sells. Oh, and that's bad news. You so bad it had to be true. Bad news. You, oh, like my worst fears coming true. And that's bad news. You so bad news. You bad, bad, bad news.
Okay.
Beautiful. How did you ever decide to end major on that tune? Where does that one come from?
I got inspired by some, I think it was some Martin Sexton stuff, or maybe I was listening to some Aaron McEwen stuff, and I just thought, I need one of those sort of bluesy, stick a knife in your ribs ballads.
Stick a knife in your ballad.
It's the murder ballad.
You know.
We talked about murder ballads last time.
Oh, really?
Stick a knife in your... Yeah.
Well, that was, I mean, it's this idea that, this was our good friend Dustin Pattison, who says, I realized when I was going to start singing this kind of music, I was going to have a murder ballad.
I mean, it's funny, but it's not, too. I mean, there's I love you, and there's I want to kill you, and there's both, and there's, I hate you, I hate me, I love you, I love me. There's
certain riffs that you kind of have to explore if you're going to be in this business.
Yeah, and I think all of these songs are, well, not just mine, but I think a lot of these storytelling songs really boil down to these very basic things. I love you, I can't handle it. I want to be with you, but it's not working out. Maybe that's just my own worldview, but.
How do you find your and I sort of want to separate this from a discussion of songwriting to a discussion of performance over time. How do you find you, Justin Jude, as a performer, deliver your music now versus when you were just starting out and kicking it off professionally?
That's a great question, and I haven't really talked about that much, and it's really important to me. I think starting out earlier, I had a passion for the songs, and I really wanted to share them, but I didn't have a comfort in my body performing, and that's really important. You're going to put yourself up in front of people. It's a much less enjoyable experience if you feel like a stone, and I knew that I needed to do something about it, but I didn't know what. And through some serendipitous connections, I ended up doing some singing performance training with a wonderful teacher here in Portland whose name is Michelle Copper Seymour. I don't mind dropping her name because she's a wonderful teacher. And taking her class and really doing a lot of movement, and I think also doing a lot of experiential, emotional stuff. A lot of people go to her class because they feel kind of blocked and they want to sing. It helped me kind of free up my body, and so I feel now when I'm on stage, even if I'm not feeling the greatest, I can sort of turn on the juice in a way I wasn't able to before, and use movement to help me have a good show, and hopefully deliver some energy to the audience that paid to see it. And that's really important to me. I want people to walk in and come and walk out a little different than they walked in, maybe a lot different. And if I'm not able to communicate that energy, like both with my singing and playing, but also just with my physical energy, it's not as good a show. Does that make some sense?
Well, sure. Particularly when you start talking about it as part of you as a product.
Sure.
Very, very much. It's you never say or you rarely hear people say, "Oh, I went to hear Justin Jude," when you're going to a live show. It's always, "I'm going to see Justin."
Yeah, and it's I'm not a big showman. I don't do a lot of we don't do choreograph anything. We don't do light shows and stuff.
Do you actually kick over mic stands and then pull them back up real fast?
Yeah, we trash everything. Yeah,
I want to make sure and kicking speakers in, and it's real important to leave a swath of destruction, I think, after your show.
Our band fund goes to replace instruments after every show. No, but I think it's important. Like, my teacher says, and I love this phrase, that if you're having an experience as a performer, then your audience is having an experience, and it's communal that way. It's a transaction. So that's what I try to do when I perform. Is I never want to just show up and play it by rote. I want to show up and play it like it's new to everybody, because it probably is.
How do you translate? And something Kurt and I were talking about a little bit earlier, that we're very interested in, sort of the how you translate your music into production. How do you communicate that same message into a producible product? I mean, am I hitting it, Kurt?
Oh yeah, you're fine. Where that came from was, I'm always sort of curious. Like, every artist has sort of a different process that they take, and starting from their living room in their head, to just the voice and the guitar, to getting their actual sound on their CD. And I've listened to 2 CDs of yours, and you've got a very produced sound in it. And I'm just kind of curious, like, sort of some of the steps that you've gone through to develop that, like, in a production sense.
I'm really still learning this whole process. The first album I did, it's a long story, but the short version is I just wanted to do an acoustic EP, and my old friend from college said, no, man, he was the engineer. He said, no, we'll do a full-length album. I'll add MIDI instruments. You'll love it. And I just went with that, and I liked what I got out of it, because it was more than I had expected to create. And then with the second album, Truce, I wanted to have that actual full studio experience and bring in a band and arrange, but I had very little experience at that. So I partnered with Rob Stroop, who's a really skilled producer in town at 8 Ball Studio, and I learned a tremendous amount from Rob, not having gone through this before. He brought in a lot of great session players. We arranged some stuff together, and we did a lot of things organically, bringing in bassist Tim Huggins, drummer Derek Brown, and just going like, okay, guys, here's the scratch tracks of me and my guitar. Give me your best stuff.
Sure.
Here's what I think. here's what I think I want, but give me your best stuff. Let's see how it goes. And so that album was really created. A lot of it was created in the moment, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And that taught me a lot about how to do it next time. I'd like to do some of that again, but I'd also like to have, a better arrangement blueprint for everybody.
Yeah.
Entering it. And go ahead.
Well, no, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm sitting here sort of vicariously pulling my hair out. There's got to be an enormous amount of pressure as a first timer going into the studio and bringing in, session players who are likely more experienced at the process than you are, and saying, "Here's my music.
Oh yeah.
Make it, do what you do." What is that like? As can you talk
Were you
about
tense?
that?
I mean, were there times were you tense, like about
Because
letting
I'm
go?
panicking, and it's been years now since that first album.
Yeah, there were times I was scared to death, because I'm really trusting these guys to deliver something that I like, and that was the risk in doing it this way. It was maybe an unavoidable risk because I just didn't have that arrangement experience to bring them a blueprint. Now I think I do. And so there were times where I was like, oh boy. But there was something also really appealing about creating, even though this is a permanent artifact, right? This recording that's going to stand the way it is from now on. There was something really appealing about it being an in-the-moment process and saying, okay, well, that's how he's feeling this song. What can we do with it? If it's not where I want it to be, maybe we can sort of tweak what he's doing to get it to be the flavor for this song that I want. And then there were other times when guys came in and did stuff that I never saw coming, and I thought, yeah. Mm-hmm. All other times where I thought, that's not what I want at all, but by the third time through, I thought, oh, okay, let's try that. Let's go in that direction. And I think I don't want to abandon that for the next time around. I definitely want to keep it organic, but maybe give them a little more guidance.
Sure. A little more guidance, and I have just as much fun with it.
I hope so.
That seems like such a delightful process. Once I would be a basket case. I would be an absolute basket case.
It's fun and scary all at once. That's how I found it.
Yeah.
It's like being on a roller coaster or something. Lots of ups and downs.
Let's do another
Sure.
permanent artifact, shall we?
Sure. Yeah, this is the the first song off of Truce, and it's the first one that I released. It's called Out of State. Sell the house, sell the car, leave the paintings where they are. I just wanna get out of here. Sell the books and the dirty mags, sell the clothes in a paper bag. I just wanna get out of here. I'm headed out of state, oh yeah. No one's gonna follow me anymore. My life could be great. Oh, tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow never comes until you die. First it's black, then it's white. If you're coming by tonight, I changed the locks and you should know. I'm going by a brand new name. Check my face, it's not the same. I changed the locks and here I go. No, I'm headed out of state, oh yeah. No one's gonna follow me anymore. My life could be great. Oh, tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow never comes until innocent no more. These iron bars, it won't take long. This is my redemption song. Oh, yeah, redemption song, yeah. My redemption song. Oh, yeah, yeah. Redemption. That connect you to my hopes. You've lost your grip now, let it go. Go, I'm headed out of state, yeah. No one's gonna follow me, no. All I got's today. Tomorrow never comes until you. Tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow never comes until you die. Tomorrow never comes until you die.
Beautiful.
Yeah, very nice.
Where does that one come from?
Before I lived in Portland, my wife and I lived in St. Louis, and we were there for schooling for her and for me. And, it was just time to go. I lived in the East Coast my whole life, and in the middle of the country was okay, but it just wasn't my thing. I need the ocean nearby, And I just needed to capture the feeling of it's needing to flee, needing to change. And I just extrapolated that for the song.
I have been listening to that song quite a bit of late. First song, again, off the album Truce. It's a very different sound on the CD. With the full band experience, how is it different going back to these songs that are now artifacts? And permanent in this state, and then going back to the more sort of naked approach. What's that experience like?
I like it a lot. It keeps things fresh and spontaneous to go back and play the song in a way you're not used to playing it for the past year or whatever. We worked really hard with this new band. Well, it's not so new. It's about a year and a half old. To work up the whole album and have it ready for a CD release, and then perform it beyond that. So we're used to playing these songs in a certain way, and to have solo opportunities like this or other solo shows is great to return to how I wrote it, and it also kind of feeds the band back because I'll find new things about the song that I might want to inject back into the band. So it kind of feed each other, if that makes sense.
Tell me about actually putting together the band. How did that whole process start? Are these people that you've known for a really long time, or are they all new? Like, how is that whole kind of dovetailed in with the production of the CD?
I feel really fortunate because it was like a series of dominoes. I was working with bassist Tim Huggins, who plays with James Lowe and the Imprints on the record, on Truce, and he was originally the bassist in the band. Across the street from him lived a drummer named John Becker, who's played with Ashbury Park and a bunch of other groups. And we thought, hey, let's get together with John. John proved to be terrific. And we pulled in a couple of other people. Just when I was desperate for a guitarist, a guy I really admire named Jeff Porter became more available and has the perfect sound, the perfect approach to playing electric. And then vocalist Deborah Rosenthal came on to give the layer of harmonies that I wanted and add percussion. Mm-hmm. Tim since left the band, and we brought in Eric Mimnaugh, who plays with John, my drummer, in another project, and has been solid for a real good long time here. And it just kind of all fell into place. You know, I feel really, really lucky. We did a little auditioning, but I didn't have to go through, protracted
Sure, yeah.
search for players. And the other thing is that it's really important to me. I'm not in it to find people for hire. If that's the way it works out, great. But I'm in it to find really good people who enjoy making music, and I want to pay them as well as I can. But I also value like the collective. Do we enjoy being together?
Right,
You know, are
sure.
we all having a good time? I value the good person over the good player, the great player. Always great to have a great player, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And luckily, these are wonderful people who care about this music, and I'm really grateful for all of them. And then I'll add too, we have some other players that join us from time to time. Max Ribner on flugelhorn, Jillian Bunker on violin, and then we have sometimes a few folks from March 4th come and do a horn trio section
Sure,
for a
yeah.
larger show,
Okay.
which is also a lucky connection.
So you have like regular rehearsal schedule with these guys, and you just try to get as many performances as you can.
Yeah, our goal is always to play once to twice a month. We feel that keeps us, current in Portland, but doesn't overdo it.
Yeah.
So people will still come to see us. We try to, mix up the different venues that we play. We rehearse regularly to make sure, the songs are solid, and to try to introduce new material. So that's been working out.
What about touring?
Funny you mentioned that. I've wanted to tour for quite a while, and as we were talking about beforehand, Pete, I had a daughter last year, and really put that on hold. It was just not realistic. So I this year it's a goal for me to get on the road at least 2 or 3 times in short bursts. So we're doing a week in May, a solo tour, but I'm doing it with another performer. His name's Dave Lowenson, who's a member of a duo called Speechwriters LLC.
That's priceless.
They're terrific. They're funny and very talented songwriters. And then was just up doing Tacoma, Seattle, Olympia trip. We'll do that again soon. I'd like to do another week or 2 in the fall. So I got some really great feedback from Erin McEwen one time. We were acquaintances in school, and she said, "Look, just get strong at home, and then let the touring kind of evolve from that." And I've come back to feeling that's really valuable, because I could pour a lot of energy and money into touring, but it needs to be sustainable. So if I can visit a city 2-3 times a year, that's sustainable. If I go out and do the East Coast once a year, maybe not as valuable. But not that I wouldn't like to do it, but we'll get there.
Sure. I'd like to do another song, but I want to make sure when we come back that we talk a little bit about what strong at home means.
Sure.
Like it can mean a couple of different things.
Yes,
so,
it can.
Let's do another tune and see where we go from there.
This is also a fairly new song about, it's funny, it's also about needing to get away, but in a different way. It's about needing to go on vacation, frankly. It's called Eat, Sleep, and Dream. Nothing to do, so think about how much I gotta do. But I don't wanna see it through, no, I just wanna dream. Sit on a beach with all my toys so far out of reach. See what the moment can teach and try to breathe. I need a rest. You need to lay your head on my chest. We've been singing our song too fast. Perhaps we should go where folks have gone for ages and slip the bars of gilded cages, eat, sleep, and dream, you and me. I'm making a mess, but maybe that's just one face of success. Maybe life's not some kind of test or a race to run. Oh, we make our plans, yeah, we get busy with our minds and our hands. Oh, and do all that we can, but it's always just begun. I need a rest. You need to lay your head on my chest. We've been singing our song too fast. At last we can go where folks have gone for ages and slip the bars of gilded cages, eat, sleep, and dream, you and me. You and me. Yeah. Oh, you and me. You and me. I have a dream that life can be just what it seems. Moments of joy like beads on a string. So I sing, let's go where folks have gone for ages. Forget the news and society pages. Forget the fads and the Hollywood rages, and dare to dance on our own stages. Eat, sleep, and dream. Oh, eat, sleep, and dream. Oh, eat, sleep, and dream. You and me. You and me.
Fantastic.
That's beautiful.
That's another new tune, you say?
Thank
Eat,
you.
Sleep, and Dream?
Fairly new, yeah. We've got a couple of these posted as single tracks on my blog, but they haven't been given the full treatment yet.
Yeah. Now you mentioned something earlier, like the earlier song was the first one that you're releasing. Why don't you tell me a little bit more, like, about kind of your business strategy, your philosophy, like, of how you're doing the whole independent musician thing? There's so many ways to do it. What's your basic strategy here?
It's an interesting time to be a musician, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
I think a lot of us are, even if we're kind of new to the game, and I consider myself, I've only been doing this professionally for about 5 years, 6 years. Yeah, we're still operating as if, we're all trying to get a major label contract. But if we really sit down and talk to each other, it's maybe not what we want.
Right.
Because I think that way of life is dying. But we're in this, I think, really ill-defined moment in the music business history where there's 100 different ways you could go about it, and there's not really any one clear way to have your music out there to the largest audience. So I've given this a lot of thought the past year or so, and I think that, recording is still very, very important. How you release the album is entirely an open question now. Do you do physical product? I think you still do. You still do CDs, vinyl maybe, if you can afford it. but releasing digitally is becoming very commonplace.
Right.
So there's that piece of it, but then there's the question of in that landscape, how do you get your music out there? And it seems to me that licensing your music is becoming increasingly critical, and that's something that I haven't spent a lot of time on because I've been focused a lot on performing the past couple of years. I'm really eager to learn more about.
That's like an entirely different skill set.
Whole nother
isn't
thing.
it? Yeah.
Whole nother thing.
Yeah.
And that's why, I have nothing to complain about, but this may sound like a complaint. As a solo player focused on performing a lot and then starting to tour, licensing is placing your music in TV and film, etc., is like like you say, a whole nother corridor to walk down. So it's hard to shift the energy down that corridor. But it's becoming more and more important to me to do that. And at the same time, somehow, like we said earlier, slowly building a wider and wider touring circle and maintaining strength here in Portland, playing good shows and building the Portland audience. Those things seem very important to me, but it's really a wide open question.
That's a really interesting concept because, I don't know, and this is definitely from the seat of ignorance, but it seems like 15 years ago and further back, it was this idea of being discovered and getting a major record label, and then having them pour a whole bunch of money into your production, and then you go tour to support the production. And now being discovered is like the Gabe Dixon Band getting discovered by NBC for their TV show,
right?
Or being discovered for a commercial or for Super Bowl spot, or it's this concept of discovery and success means something completely different.
Yeah, and it's even though it was mysterious before how you ever got the attention of a label, and there were ways to do it, I'm sure, I know, but it was its own kind of arcane thing. It's even more so now because let's say you can get your stuff licensed on a certain television show or film. It's a 1,000-to-1 shot that's really going to do something for you. You also, I think, have to have the experience of playing a number of years behind you, probably, and an audience behind you. That's still important. But there are people that just look at Colby Calais, right?
Oh,
MySpace.
Absolutely.
There's those wacky ones like that. Although she's very talented, it's just somebody found her. Right. That's still very possible. But I think at the same time, look at Death Cab. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was the OC that really got them to prominence.
And here they are.
Here they are.
The Decemberists on the Colbert Show.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
What's your take on MySpace? How do you use the digital fan base to?
Well, I'm not a technologically minded guy by nature, but MySpace has been very valuable in being a one-stop shop for people to get quick information, I think, about where I'm playing, what's going on. And it's a way to network with other musicians, too. That's really an effective thing with MySpace. I've made a lot of great connections and booked shows that way by just connecting with, like I go to Kurt's MySpace, let's say, and he's got 5 other guys in his friend base. And I'm like, oh, I think I've heard of so-and-so. And one thing leads to another. We send each other a message, and maybe we book a show. And then people hear the music. But I think, it hasn't been a huge marketing tool beyond that. And then Facebook, I'm still really thinking about how to approach that. There's a lot of different ways to handle Facebook, and I've kind of let that one sit on the sidelines for a while. But I just do I email my fan list once to twice a month. I update those sites regularly. I try to get, updated photos and video if I have it up there, and just try to keep it fresh. This is going to sound cynical in a way, but for each of us, it's a legitimizing thing to have that presence online. People come to it, they absorb it. They say, hey, this person has a lot of material up here, and let me check it out. Let me pay attention. And then you build your audience that way, if that makes some kind of sense. So there were days when I was like, oh man, I only have 900 friends. I better build some more friends on MySpace, But it's just, I don't think that's really that important anymore.
I don't know.
Because you'd go to like somebody else's page that'd have 1,500 friends. Oh man, they're so much more successful.
Right? Yeah.
Well, there's I went to a conference not a year and a half ago, and I was hobnobbing with a bunch of new media people, and they had all hit the cap on Facebook, which is 5,000 friends.
Oh my god!
And I'm sitting here saying, oh, man, I'm still in the hundreds. No, I don't even have a right to sit at the same table with you people.
I'll never make it.
I'm flying a whole different airline, you know. It's like not even a different class.
It's great.
That's too funny. Let's do another tune.
Sure thing. Let's see. This is something completely different. It's sort of a, I don't know whether it's swingy or ragtime, but this is one we often bring the horns out on. And I can't remember who I was mad at when I wrote this song, but I was mad at somebody who was complaining too much about something. And then later I realized, oh, you know, I could just as well be singing this song to myself, because I you know, the more time I spend complaining, the less good a life I have. So anyway, this song is called Complain Late. And you live in a house on Complain Lane, where everything is always the same as it was way back in the day. Trouble is, you never live back in the day. You're just a baby if you're a day, but still you think you got something to say. Hey, take my advice if you pretend you're wise. Let out a big sigh and get your head down to a manageable size. And if the food is bad, the ride's too long, the radio just won't play your song. You just count up all the things you see wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Trouble is, this is the world and it's a real, and everything's a package deal. Maybe there's something you just don't wanna feel. Oh, now, if I may declare, you look so much better down there. If while you're moping around, you could pick me some daisies from out of the ground. Hey, this is the part where we do the trombone solo, but at times like this I just have to do a little bit myself. If I may declare, you look so much better down there. If while you're moping around, you could pick me some daisies from out of the ground, out of the ground, out of the ground, out of the ground. And if you think that I'm a bag of hot air, and life really ought to be fair, 'cause you got to be a-getting somewhere, go on back to your house on Complain Lane, where everything is always the same, and I don't have to feel your pain. I said, go on back now. I said, go on back now. I said, go on back, back now. Oh, baby, I can hear you. Your mama's calling you back now. Yes, she is, child. Oh, I hear your mama calling you now.
All right.
I get an obscene amount of joy out of that song. That is fantastic.
Is that one of your
Thanks.
favorites?
I really like that song. Yeah,
Yeah.
I confess.
Clearly.
Because there's a part of me that really loves to make that kind of music, you
Yeah.
know, and would just love to to do swing, and so I'm glad. Like this is an oddball song to include on Truce in a way, but I'm glad we did it. And
you can just tell by the production, everyone's having so much fun with that one. Yeah,
yeah, we really did. We really had a good time.
What did singing college a cappella do for your for your performance?
there we go.
Why? How did you know?
Well, I mean, it's pretty rare where you do the vocal horn solo, and so that's pretty rare skill.
Yeah, man, I was always copying the guys that could really do it. Well, I was in the Bare Necessities at Brown University, which was kind of starting out. Not starting out, but still new when I was there. And, I actually wasn't interested in joining an a cappella group at first, and I became friends with a lot of the guys. And I wasn't really...
realize they're really very cool.
They're super guys.
Yeah,
They're a
it's
lot of my
important
closest...
that we get that out.
Yeah, acapella people in general.
Acapella people in general are very cool.
They're very cool. Some of the coolest people I know are acapella people.
This is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you guys are on the list now. And I just had a lot of fun with those guys. I learned a lot about arranging, just more, how do I put it? I learned about arranging vocals in a kind of a visceral way, like doing it on the fly, because we do a lot of improvisation. It gave me a way to really keep my voice really fresh in college, because I was only performing periodically, and it's just a great time. And honestly, the most valuable thing I got out of it was all my good friends and friendships that keep going to today. In fact, at my wedding, I pulled a bunch of those guys out of a cappella retirement, and I said, "Here's a song. Can you arrange it?" And they hadn't performed together in about 5 years, and they just showed up and did it. Awesome. It was really terrific.
That's quite a gift.
Meaningful, yeah.
Were you songwriting much at that time? I mean, have you been songwriting? Like, when did you start songwriting?
I probably I wrote my first song at 15. It was a very simple teenage love song.
Sure.
And I think in college is when I really picked up the acoustic. The funny thing is that I played electric my whole teenage life. I played lead, and was really into. First, I was really into metal bands at 12 and 13 and 14, and then I was really into, Eric Clapton and Led Zeppelin and all that stuff. And then in college, I don't know why, but I started picking this up and starting to write some songs acoustically, and I transferred to Brown my junior year, and just like I got a gig at the pub in the first month there, the campus pub, and I was like, oh man, I don't have songs. I got to write some songs.
Yeah.
And that kind of got me started. I just kept at it. So yeah, at that time I was trying to write pretty regularly.
Wow. So as a songwriter, I'm just curious, like more philosophically speaking, I mean, do you find yourself working on different things? This is a horribly abstract question. I try to ask it every time, and it never really comes out very gracefully. But I'm just always curious about like the songwriter's process. What sort of things you feel stuck on? Like, what were your moments of breakthrough in the past? What kind of things you feel like you might be working on for your next step? As a songwriter.
Well, I have felt like, in my mind, I'm writing a lot of similar songs, and so it's been a challenge to myself to experiment with different styles. Even though I'm mainly a writer on the guitar, is to like that song "Complain Lane" was a total risk for me to try that. So I'm really challenging myself to do that. I'm finding I'm writing a lot more sort of country flavor songs recently, which baffles me because I'm not really a country fan. I didn't grow up with country music, but they're leaning that way, that sort of swingy. That's coming out, I don't know why, and I'm just going with it. Whereas before I would have said, that's not really my thing.
Right.
But maybe it'll open some really special doors, so I'm just trying to follow it. Beyond that, I guess I'm always really focused on. I'm never really satisfied with my lyrics. Like if I have a line that comes really easy and doesn't ring quite right to me, I'll just work that over and over. I'm very exacting about lyrics,
right?
And I'm always trying to capture the idea that I'm trying to get across, or the feeling I'm trying to get across, in a better way.
Yeah.
So that I'm always chewing on that. I mean, I'll be walking around the city chewing on some lyric all the time.
Yeah.
It's sort of the question, and maybe there's a question for both of you guys, because it sounds like you both struggle with this a little bit, but do you find yourself ever really finishing songs? Are you a guy who has finished songs, or are they never really finished?
It's back to that question of a recording, right? I mean, once it's recorded, it's a form that becomes familiar to your listener. So you have some obligation to play it that way, I think, right?
Very good point.
If I didn't do that, yeah, they would evolve, over and over again. There's songs I've played for 10 years and never recorded, and they're very different now. And I think that's totally reasonable. This is, we grow, the song should grow too. There's that old nugget, I can't remember who said it, about, I think it's either about a painting or a poem. It's never finished. It's always abandoned.
Right.
And I feel the same way about the song. At some point you just have to say, this is the structure of it today. I'm going to put it on tape. The songs I'm playing for you tonight, it might sound a little different next time, or next year. I think that's okay.
I want to go back to a point because I don't want to let it go. I'm amazed that you are a professional musician and a dad of a young child, and that amazes me because I barely have time to get out of bed in the morning. How do you find that affects your music and your career? And you said you put the idea of a tour on hold for a year when you had your daughter, but what does it mean to find that balance?
It's a learning process. It really is. I've always wanted a family, and my wife and I decided that we didn't want to wait anymore. It was time, and I knew that it was going to have some impact on my music life. It had to have an impact on every area of my life, and it's been a real juggling act, to be honest. I had to laugh at myself because I was committed to, when she was born, I decided, well, I'm sure I can continue doing exactly what I'm doing, just have to learn a different way to do it. So I kept booking the same old way. And by the time she was 3 or 4 months old, I was ready to drop dead. I was exhausted, absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
And I learned that, I would need to find a different kind of balance. So I won't kid you, it's challenging, but I'm very fortunate to have a part-time job that I really love, a really understanding spouse, and I have some time during the week that I block out. I spend with my daughter, some time that I block out, work on music. We work. My wife and I work together to make sure show nights and rehearsal nights can happen, it's just is what it is. But I think increasingly that. Because I really wanted a family, it's okay with me, whatever happens. Whatever I'm able to do musically, I really love my family and spending time with them. And if it has some, if I would have been able to do the tour last year, it's okay. I'll do it this year.
Yeah.
That's how I feel now.
How do you feel it's changed your songwriting? I mean, I'm just imagining, like, as much as there's more to balance, it's got to feed it too.
Yeah, it has. I mean, I think early on last year when my daughter was very young, I was just too tired to write, but the past several months, there's just been a lot of stuff coming out. I think people told me having a kid would really stir things up for you in a way that you'd never experienced. Not only becoming a father and those responsibilities, but your own emotions and thoughts and such.
Sure.
And that's definitely true. A lot of different types of songs have been coming out. Interestingly enough, I haven't written. And this has bothered me. I haven't written songs for her yet, and I think maybe this is maybe a little too confessional for you, but I think there's a little bit of I have a real fear about it. I'm a kind of a perfectionist, and
I understand.
Putting all that down in a song, I think is been very hard for me to do. Although I've toyed with it, I've got one or two rolling in there in the back of my head. I just haven't gotten into the performance state. So I've decided not to beat myself up about that, and when it comes, it'll come. And I've never been much of a love songwriter. It's been more of like a broken love songwriter. So,
wow,
yeah, that's my thoughts. It's like it's a learning process, like many other things, and just kind of take each day as it comes and try to juggle it best I can.
let's do another tune.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, like, speaking of, taking risks like we were earlier. I've been thinking a lot about how, if you're not careful, your performance, your set becomes rote. You're doing the same stuff over and over again, and there's not always room for spontaneity, or it's hard to make that room. And I've always toyed with this idea of writing songs on the fly. Taking a phrase from an audience member and just going with it. Now, I don't have those chops yet, really. I'm not a rap aficionado, really. I've never practiced that. But, I just thought, I'm sitting around at work today, had a free moment. I thought, well, this doesn't have to be such a precious process. Let's just write some words down. So I'm going to give you a shot on this song that has never been really even performed in full.
Awesome.
And we'll see. It could be a complete train wreck. But,
Beautiful.
It's in
Working title?
I Won't Save Your Life. Tell me you don't, tell me you won't, tell me you'll live or you'll die. Read me my rights, put me in your sights and fire. Open your veins, let go of the reins, race to the edge and fly. Do it all with a smile in desperate style, but I won't save your life. I've fallen and soared, been enlightened and bored. I've carried you and cried. I've bought and I've sold, run hot and run cold, looked at you inside. But we all reach a place, we enter a space where we've lost our need for strife. I'm in that cloud and starting right now, baby, I won't save your life. Yeah, good luck to you now, good luck to you now, you'll be alright. Oh, good luck to you now, good luck to you now, come day or come night. Oh, sing me a verse, toss me a curse, pour yourself a glass. Lament your fall, stare at the wall, live in the past. Open your veins and savor the stains, and then say, look what you made me do. I'm not taking that bait, I've scared myself straight. It's time to walk away from you. Do it with a smile, in desperate style, baby, I won't save your life.
I Won't Save Your Life, Justin Jude, written today.
Yeah.
The gauntlet has been thrown. From now on, everybody who comes on Acoustic Conversations is going to be given the write the song the day of assignment. You've set a very high bar. That was beautiful.
Well, thanks. That was fun to do. And I'd like to do more of that. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to do that.
Sure. Absolutely. Where do people find you, Justin Jude?
www.justinjude.com. From there, you could reach my blog where we post about shows, tours, and there's a few free downloads of tracks up there, including a couple I played tonight. That is at justinjude.wordpress.com. Also on MySpace, myspace.com/justinjude. And I think that covers it.
Fair enough. Covers it for us. You can find us, the show, at acousticconversations.com. Right, Kurt?
And that's absolutely right. Or you can visit us at Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at AC Convo.
Absolutely. AC
Nice.
Convo, Acoustic Conversations. And see, I don't have the script tonight. I know I had a third line. I can visualize the third line. But definitely, Facebook. I think that was it. Join our Facebook group. Facebook members, folks who come join the group, they get direct links to all of the high-quality songs that Justin has delivered for us tonight. Absolutely beautiful. Direct links, if you join our Facebook group, to all of those songs, so you can keep them, cherish them, and call them George. On behalf of Kurt Sivert, I am Pete Wright. Great thanks to Justin for sitting down with us. Really, truly a wonderful set tonight. Join us again next week with Acoustic Conversations.
Go on back to your house on Complaint Lane, where everything is always the same, and I don't have to feel your pain. I said, go on back now. I said, go on back now. I said, go on back now. Oh, baby, I can hear you. Your mama's calling you back now.